Yes, good morning, viewers and subscribers. Big up on yourself. Now, what making the headline on Tropical TV with the JC student killer seeks 12-year cut in sentence. Quincy Hart, the man who was given a life sentence after killing a Jamaica College JC student in 2016 following a robbery attempt, wants the Court of Appeal to reduce his 31-year pre-parole period by at least 12 years. Hart Matter, who is before the court, the appellate court, is scheduled to be heard on the weekend of December 19, is contending that his sentence is manifestly excessive. The convict, who is about 26 years old now, was sentenced in 2019 and ordered to serve 31 years in prison before being considered for parole after he pleaded guilty to the murder of 14-year-old Nicholas Francis, a crime which had sparked public outrage and heightened concern about student safety. The student, who was in third form, died at hospital several minutes after Hart plunged a knife into his chest during an altercation on a bus on October 26, 2016. Hart, who stabbed the youth after attempting to steal his watch, had surrendered to the police 3 days later. Headline delivered, you see me, to the Gleaner. Said this, you see me, a newsletter. The killer, who pleaded guilty just before the start of his murder trial, was sentenced almost 3 months later in the Home Circuit Court and was given a 10% discount. The 3 years that he had spent in custody before the sentence were also subtracted from his sentence. Sentencing Judge Justice Lorna Shelley Williams had indicated that the starting point for the crime was 40 years, but after doing her calculation, it had whittled down to 31 years. Hart, however, appealed the sentence. Among the grounds of the appeal are that the judge had not followed the classical principles of the sentencing guidelines and had not sought to balance the mitigating and aggravating factor, which resulted in Hart being given an excessive sentence. Another is that the judge did not give sufficient weight to Hart's age or his expression of remorse. Government prosecutors led evidence that on the day of the incident, Francis and Hart were seated beside each other on the minibus that was heading towards Halfway Tree, St. Andrew. When the teenage blurred out, "Talk to him now," it was later observed that the convicted killer was holding on to Francis' wrist watch and the teen was trying to brush him off. A fist fight reportedly broke out, but the two were quickly separated by one of the two conductors, who gave Francis a seat to the rear of the minibus. Prosecutors says that when the vehicle got to another bus stop located meters from JCR, took Francis' knapsack and tossed it on the door. It was reported that another JC student who was about to get on the bus picked up the bag. However, prosecutors say Hart stopped him, asking, "How you so enough? A for your bag?" When another passenger intervened and took up the bag, Hart again grabbed the knapsack and threw it to the ground. According to prosecutors, this triggered a second fistfight. Francis was stabbed on the hand and in the chest as the conductor tried to separate them. So you see what go on, brother? That brother yeah a trouble, so him should have get more than that. Coming up on other news, we see where civil unrest outbroke in Haiti and it triggered over 1,400 murders, kidnappings, and robberies. And we see say gangsters are whole up Haiti. But it simply is just misgovernance. In the region, Haiti is a part of the CARICOM countries, And Trinidad Prime Minister said Haiti have the worst governance in the history of government in the Caribbean region right now. So, and we are going to go in details, more in details about the situation. So we see where Grenada Prime Minister Dicton Mitchell also spoke out about it, and this is what he have to say. He said Haiti instability a threat to the entire Caribbean region. You know? It would not be the first or second or third time that the Caribbean community CARICOM has attempted to help the hemisphere poorest nation get a grip on its internal problems, which are raping, murder, mayhem, and kidnapping, exposing Haiti as having the weakest governance structure across all the region territories. Jamaica rescued former Asian President Jean Bertrand Aristide on two occasions. The first when he was removed by a mini coup, and again when the United States withdrew its security and he was forced to flee, landing in the Central African Republic. Before then, parliamentarian Sharon A. Webster was sent by the Prime Minister P.J. Patterson to take him here. Over the years, Haiti's presidents have been disposed and fled, as are its citizens, to various CARICOM territories. The Bahamas, Jamaica, Cuba, and smaller territories have rescued migrants seeking an escape from social, economic, or political turbidity, which has left the former colony of France in shambles. France, like most other European colonizers, was enriched by the proceeds of enslavement and forced capture of the country. Historians have argued that France owes $80 billion in destabilization fees collected in anger at the territory for daring to become independent of its colonizer. Now, as images emerge from the crime-ridden, gang-infested country, CARICOM is once again seeking to make a difference. It has tapped three former prime ministers for a fact-finding mission to the seemingly ungovernable country that is killing and burning bodies like garbage. Last year, Asian President Jovenel Moise was murdered, and 2 weeks ago, two journalists were murdered and their bodies burned as the daily demonstration continued across the nation. CARICOM going to Haiti again. In an interview with Grenada's Prime Minister Dicton Mitchell recently, he told the Sunday Gleaner that the regional body is extremely concerned about Haiti. According to him, the year-long crisis in governance in the troubled nation required strident regional advocacy, as the continuing instability in the country is threatening the security of the Caribbean, especially the Bahamas and Jamaica, which can expect more refugees if the volatility continues. As part of CARICOM, we have several meetings with Prime Minister Ariel Henry. We recognize there are serious security challenges in Haiti, the Bahamas in particular, and I want to give credit to the Prime Minister and people of the Bahamas because they actually have an embassy in Haiti. And as you know, you may be aware, a lot of migrants, when they leave Haiti, they end up in Bahamas or Cuba, said Prime Minister Mitchell. Many Asians have also sought refuge in Jamaica, but after a court ruling several years ago that determined that they were economic refugees and scores were returned to the country that share border with the Dominican Republic. That country is also building a border wall between the nation to keep migrants out. In addition to the governance disasters, Haiti has been hit with various natural disasters. The 2010 earthquake, which killed more than 300,000 people, hurricanes and floodings, cholera, drought, and damages from rising temperatures have devastated the country that has been stripped of most of its foliage and trees throughout forced deforestation for coal. Mitchell disclosed that three former prime ministers have agreed to serve as special envoy of CARICOM to Haiti, and the mission will also include individuals from Dominica and St. Lucia who speak French Creole. So my heart goes out to Haiti right now. So we see the domestic situation when we see take place on social media with Jamaicans and Haiti, that trivial thing. People feel just put that behind them and just look on the bigger picture. And as I say, Haiti need help. Them country in a turmoil, civil unrest that takes stand, and instability right now are the biggest problem in the region. Many people without food, without electricity, and many people separated from them family. So my heart goes out to Haiti. So Jamaican people, please pray for Haiti and keep Haiti in our heart right now. Going on to other news. We see where France is going to the finals, to the semi-finals. So France will meet Morocco. As yesterday, Morocco hero was Morocco hero yesterday was Youssef Naziri, the player who scored 1 goal before the match has reached its duration. He had scored the goal and knocked out Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo. We see Cristiano Ronaldo was heartbroken. He was seen crying. But I say go. And everybody can make it to the finals. On my part, we see where Lionel Messi come through for his side on Friday as they are in the semi-finals. And we see where they will play Argentina will play Croatia. So anybody win if Argentina beat Croatia, then we see say Argentina go finals with either France or Morocco. May the best team win. Coming up in other news, the artist goes by the name of Kraft, otherwise known as Voodoo Chap. We see a viral video going around on social media and Instagram, to be exact, of him laying in an hospital.
Watch it about.
You know? With a neck brace around his neck.
Look at that big boat. Look at that big boat. A one boat man.
Enough women say them like when them man say if them cheat them I go shoot them or cut off them head, but me nah make no threat to no woman over them body. You can go where you want and do what you want. Me personally not try to stop you. After all, you going where you really want and doing what you really want. I go help me to decide if me want you in my life or not.
Speedy recovery DJ, speedy. And festive season, you don't know Xmas and us people just be safe on the road. Tropical TV, I'm out of here. Subscribe to the channel.